Greetings, greetings and salutations, Facebook. It's been a minute, but I'm back. I'm back on track. A lot of chaos going on in the Bronx Heroes world. We're not going to get into that, but you know what I'm talking about. Today, we're interviewing a few guys. We're going back old school to the Comic-Con days. We're going to be interviewing Sam, Vera, Jorge Medina, and Jonathan Syfax. And we're going to be doing like a two-part special. Might be a three-parter. We'll see how far we get with Annabelle Arroyo and some other cats. So we're going to just try to get the four horsemen all together, So today we're going to have Sam and George, maybe Jonathan. Tomorrow we're going to have Sam, Jonathan, and and Annabelle. And then April 1st, we're going to do a Catch the Craze reunion type of thing, bringing all the guys together. I'm really excited about it. These are like comrades at arms from the Comic-Con days. God, I miss it going to Comic-Cons. I really do. But also, this month is not only just Women's History Month, which is very important. We're going to be bringing some very cool things for as far as women in comics is concerned. A lot of new stuff going on that I'm keeping under wraps that's approaching as we are going to head for two conventions in 2021, a Bronx Heroes Comic-Con convention and a Women in Comics Con convention coming near you soon at two different locations. So things are on the move. Who is a professor at SVA. He wrote many books, right, on sequential comics. He's the godfather of the graphic novel, This is his month. We had Eisner Week back in March, 1st through 7th. And we have Eisner's legacy. He would be 102 years old today had he been alive with us. God bless him. I mean, he lived a great life, but he left us great comics, great graphic novels, and a lot of art, as you can see behind me. It's Eisner month to me. And we also have his poster. If you haven't seen it, a lot of comic stores have been closed. You can see that we have our Eisner Week. Read a graphic novel, right? We're celebrating Will Eisner, right? We have all the art here. So it's all Will Eisner on the wall. We're getting it together. We're going to do a nice little special. We'll be doing a Will Eisner special. Sorry about that. Amateur camera work, but it's a handy cam. But we're going to be doing an Eisner special also, hopefully before the end of the month. Let's see what happens. And, a little introspective on Will Eisner, who he was, how he lived, and just enjoy his work. So if you've never read a Will Eisner graphic novel, you need to go to WillEisner.com and find out about John Law, The Spirit, Contract with God, The Building, New York, all these great stories that he wrote. Life Force. Oh my God, there's just so much, so many books that he's written. I got a bookshelf over there full of Eisner stuff. And of course, his Eisner magazine that was published by Dennis Kitchen. So great stuff. I mean, who can ask for anything more, Will Eisner? So let's see if I can get these guys in here, see if they're all ready to go. Let me just jump on in. 8:03. You know what they say about us Latinos, we're on the CP time. We're never on time. I hate to put it that way, but, it's kind of true. I always try to be prompt and on time. And no matter how well I plan it, sometimes it just doesn't happen that way. So, you know, we gotta, sometimes we try to break away from the stereotypes, but sometimes they just stick to us. I hate being late, but I'm late often. So, oh, they're coming in at 9 p.m. Oh boy. All right. So, well, this is what we're going to do. 9 p.m. I wanted to talk to you guys about a lot of other stuff that's going on. What else can I tell you? I was talking to Gary Cohn. Gary Cohn and I were planning to do number 2 and 3 of Nemesis. And Gary was just talking to, I'm sorry, just responding. It's kind of hard to multitask. Yeah. Let's see if Gary's shy or not. Gary, you want to join me? We can talk about this right now. We were talking about Justice League on the side there and Nemesis. I mean, if you don't know Nemesis, we got Nemesis number 1. Like I got it framed, right? This is the Bronx version of CGC. We don't get it graded. We just frame it, stick it on the wall. But Nemesis was written by Gary Cohn. He is an awesome guy. Gary, I mean, what can I tell you? What can I tell you about Gary Cohn? I mean, he's a phenomenal writer, creator of Blue Devil, creator of Nemesis. And he and I collaborated on this some years ago. Took a long time. I mean, it was published in 2017. Man, just like that. But we actually started collaborating about it around 2008, believe it or not. And it did take us a long time to get the books out there. Gary's texting me over here. I gotta respond. It's just like oh yeah, of course. Hold on a second, I'm sorry. I'm terrible. I can't multitask. This is for the younger generations. All right, so Chinese sake, come on in. So more about so it took us literally 8 years to get this book out, man. It took us, and it's because we all have busy schedules. Oh, here we go. Here's Gary. Add him to the stream. Hey, Gary, how's it going?
Hey, who else are we talking to?
I got a few guys coming in, but they're in another interview right now, so I'm waiting for them to get out.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that this was what was going on.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my. Since the beginning of the pandemic, I've been doing this off and on. So, yeah, it's good to have you here. It's been a while. Let me just throw this intro in here so I can get rid of it. And then we can make ourselves bigger. Here we go.
Okay.
Welcome to Bronx Heroes, Double Time Live. We got Gary Cohn on the fly. Just on the fly. All right, there we go. We're done with that.
Okay.
I cut it down short. Everyone wants 10 seconds or something like that, So
How you doing?
I'm good, man. How about yourself?
Good. You look well.
I love this shirt. That's great.
Totally unplanned that we would have this visit and I'd be wearing this.
Oh my God. Talking about bringing back memories,
Yeah.
For those who don't know, Gary and I were wrestling coaches.
Yeah, we were. We spent one season as Ray was the head coach and I was the assistant. both of us trying to figure out.
But that's officially, yeah.
Yeah, because each of us had wrestled for a season in high school.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And then you also did fencing too, which was,
That was different. That was something where I knew what I was doing.
yeah, yeah, that's right. It's good to see you, man. So how's North Virginia, or is it North Virginia?
Richmond.
Birchwood.
Richmond.
How is that
Richmond.
treating you?
I got my second shot on Monday,
Oh, wow.
so I am vaccinated.
How do you feel about that?
Oh, very good. I've been very, very eager to get this. So yeah, now I've been vaccinated, and I'm gonna wait 3 weeks, and then I'm going to start to get back to the gym for swimming every other night.
There you go. I had to cancel my gym membership. Even though they opened, it was closed for a whole year. I was desperate to go back. But when I went back, a lot of people weren't being safe. They weren't cleaning the machines well. And I was just like, I'm asking for trouble.
Yeah. And then the only thing I do at my gym is swim. They've got a really nice pool, saltwater pool. There's hardly ever anybody in it. And I've just been waiting for this. And if I start to go at 8 or 9 or 10 o'clock at night, there's going to be no one.
Yeah. That's the best time to go. I usually try to go either really early in the morning, like 7, or like by lunchtime on a weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Sunday, nobody is there. Most people are at church. Or, if you go on a Saturday, it's in a Jewish Hasidic community. So they're all resting.
Yeah.
So it's most of the time it was empty. But as the reopening was happening, it was getting more and more crowded. So I was just like, I think I need to cancel.
So are there people watching us now?
Yeah, there's a few. We have 3 people.
Who are they? And don't they have anything better to do with their time?
It is what it is, man. It's like, some people like to tune in. Sometimes they'll ask questions. I got to figure out where my questions are coming in just in case they start asking questions. So, yeah, I mean, so how did you survive the pandemic? What did you do? You do anything creative during that time?
I wish I could say yes.
You're a writer. Come on.
I have been telling myself for months that I need to be writing something, and I was working on it. Did I send you that collection of short stories?
No, I haven't. I haven't got it.
It's a collection that Bob Sodaro
really
put together for me. There's a copy somewhere. Hang on a second.
That's cool. I'm actually working on something for Bob Sodaro right now, like a short little thing. It's taken me forever to do it. I'm bad. Don't give me a commission. It'll take forever to get it done. But
I'll be right back because I have other copies. Gotta move the cat. Got to move the cat. This cat. Gotta move that cat. Move that cat.
Oh, you have a pet cat there?
Move the cat. You're in the box.
Have you officially announced your Paris Cullens book yet? That project? I don't want to say it if you haven't.
Okay. There it is.
Let's see it.
There you go.
Right there. There you go.
Magic Bus and Other Stories.
That's you on the cover. That's cool.
That's me at 28 years old.
Wow.
Sitting on the motorcycle I had at 28 years old.
That is so
and
cool.
On the back is me a little bit older, but
yeah,
on the motorcycle again. And
that's awesome.
It's semi-autobiographical short stories, and they're brutally hard and painful to write. And because I have to dig down into the emotions I was feeling 35, 40 years ago.
Right.
And refeel them. So there's one story that I've got about 10 pages on, but it wants to go about 60 pages for the next edition.
Right.
I was suffering with this thing. And I finally said, let me do something that doesn't rip my guts up emotionally so that I'll have some momentum to go back to this thing.
Right.
What do I have? I've got Nemesis.
All right.
Nemesis needs to be finished. So that's put me back on the track of doing the plot for Nemesis.
Oh, Nemesis.
So,
Awesome.
so the little bonus that you get from this is that I'm doing this so I don't tear my guts up.
Oh,
but even though I know I'm going to,
right.
I know I'm going to go back to it. There are 2 stories. There are 4 stories in it now. There's going to be a total of 6, and the next 2 are one's about a devastating romance right after my divorce at 32, and the other's about losing one of my best friends. And,
wow, that's cool. I mean, it's good that
like I said, they're semi-autobiographical. They're not
right.
They're not what happened verbatim.
Right.
There are incidents that are added from other times and other places, and things that are punched up to make it a better story. But it's still my painful experience.
Right. I got to tell you, I also started a while ago. I think it was before the pandemic. It was a memoir I was writing about my teenage life, late teenage life into the 20s. And hanging out in the East Village, working in Soho, and about a friend of mine that had passed away. And there was a line in what was that, Minority Report? He says, "When you dig up the past, all you get is dirty." and it's so true. So this person that I believed had died in 1997 because they were in a coma from a drug overdose. Really good friend of mine, and they had told us that she had died. And it devastated and defined my entire life. Like, I got to tell you, it was like it left an impression on me. But after trying to reconnect, when I was writing this memoir, I started reconnecting with some of these people I haven't spoken to like in over 20 years. And I found out that the death was a lie, that the person actually lived for another 13 years, but then they were dead again.
So you lost her twice.
Oh my God. Yeah. Oh my God. That really wrecked me. That really totally emotionally wrecked me. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
My entire life, a lot of my books, a lot of the characters are based off of this good friend of mine,
That was 13 more years you could have had as the friend.
Right. Exactly. And this is before cell phones. So it's not like this is like a time.
All my stories are before cell phones.
Right.
There's so much where you were just in the wind back then.
Yeah, exactly.
If I was out on some interstate thumbing a ride, nobody knew where I was. Nobody. I was off the grid.
Right. Literally, yeah.
And whatever happened, good or bad, was off the grid.
Right.
And so you just cast your fate into the wind. Or if you're trying to meet somebody back then and they haven't showed up, there's no way of finding out what's going on.
I think we had a form of telepathy because sometimes it happened. You just met up with them, it's like
right.
It was something weird that we don't have, something we lost. I think that we had this. I think the internet, for instance, how we can connect with the world. I think that is a very primitive. It seems advanced, but it's a primitive model of what the human brain and our collective unconscious does naturally.
Okay.
Almost like we already connected to this invisible web that connects us spiritually to each other. So the internet, he says maybe, but I mean,
you're a more spiritual person than I am.
Yeah, but I mean, I remember being a young person and, not on drugs or anything, but being a young person and walking or talking to somebody, connecting with them. And sometimes even seeing someone around the corner before they actually showed up. I mean, I don't know if you ever got that clairvoyant type of thing.
Yeah. Do you remember the girlfriend I had before Sam?
Yeah, I do.
Tiny alcoholic one.
Yeah.
She would disappear. And I think, I'm done. She's gone. Nowhere. There's no way to find her because no answer, the cell phone. And yet I would stumble on her over and over again.
Right.
When she needed rescue, because she needed rescue all the time.
Right.
And And when she needed rescue, suddenly our lives would cross, and I'd pull her out of whatever shit she'd gotten into, and then she was back in my life.
So, it was like a boomerang. You can get rid of it.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean. I mean, that's something. That's electric. That's electricity. You know, that's some kind of connection that we have with one another. But I feel that we're losing it because of technology. In some sense, you know, we're losing that.
Maybe.
You know, or maybe it's just dormant. Maybe it's not going to go away, but it's there, but we're not using it. You know.
Yeah.
It's weird things like
my mythic memory, I think it is.
Right.
Whatever it was that allowed pre-literate storytellers to remember long epics verbatim.
Right.
With the cue lines that would set off the whole role, like Homer, the wine dark sea. And when the phrase "the wine dark sea" comes up,
right,
that allows him to remember and speak the whole
thing. He's like a big Tupac Shakur, like, you know, like
it gets him to the next buzz phrase, right? And it could be an hour or 3 hours of relating the story that eventually brings him, because he's losing it, to the next buzz phrase, and that clicks in the next piece.
Yeah. No, I think it's incredible. Like my students and like some of your students, you know, if they were into like rap or poetry, they just remembered those rhymes.
Right.
And it was like I called them mantras.
It's music, and you know, one of the things Oliver Sacks talked about this a lot in a lot of his books about neurological syndromes, that everything can fade, but people's musical memory is one of the last things to go.
Right.
So somebody can be lost in the depths of dementia, and they can hear a passage from a song and start singing along with it.
Wow. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
You know, well, it's the same thing. Like you won't forget your name, you know, to some degree. Like some people won't forget their name, but they'll forget everything else, you know.
LY35896.
Yeah, I still remember my phone number from when I was a kid.
That was my phone number when I was 8 years old.
Yeah. My phone number, my very first phone number in kindergarten was it was 212, right? 654-1177. Like, why do I remember that?
Mine predates when there were numbers. Right?
Yeah.
And then the following one was TN86591.
Yeah, TNA. Wow.
Which became then 868.
868. Isn't that crazy? So you were talking about Justice League a little bit. We were texting that. What did you think about the movie? You know,
one of the things that I was talking to another friend about, the Martian Manhunter.
Mm-hmm.
First, where the fuck was he for the other three movies? where was he during? He might have been able to lend a hand during the Kryptonian invasion. He might have been helpful fighting Doomsday.
He was like, where was he? Well, he was a human. He was helping out as a human. He was
but he would have been more helpful as the Martian Manhunter. Second thing. Why does he have to be Martha giving Lois the pep talk?
Right.
When it's so much better when Martha gives Lois the pep talk.
Right.
And then somewhere between movies, Lois is going to say to Martha, you know, it really meant a lot to me when you came by the apartment and gave me the pep talk. And Martha would say, what? That didn't happen.
Well, now it makes me wonder, was he Jonathan Kent in The Rocks when he was seeing?
He could have been everybody. You know? Where has this guy been?
I thought that was interesting, though, how Jonathan Kent in Batman versus Superman, when Superman flew away and went to the North Pole or some farm or whatever, they didn't really specify where he was, but on some mountain. You know, we always are used to like the Marlon Brando, Jor-El speaking to Christopher Reeve and imparting knowledge to him, but they chose to choose the human father as, like in Man of Steel, it was Jor-El, but in Batman versus Superman, now it's Jonathan Kent. And then in this movie, it was both simultaneously, giving him the messages as he was donning the costume,
Yeah, there was a lot to like about it. There was giving Cyborg such a central position in the whole thing. Now we see why Ray Fisher was so pissed off.
Yeah.
It's your movie. As it's designed, it's his movie. Yeah. He is the moral center of the whole thing. Yeah. And Whedon pretty much cuts him out of it. Yeah. As with Flash. Flash is pretty much superfluous in the Whedon movie.
Yeah. And William Dafoe, like, how do you cut William Dafoe out of a movie? And
right.
Even though it's a small part, it wasn't even that great of a
He's Falco. And
yeah. I mean,
I would have liked it better, and I broke it into 2 parts. I couldn't sit through 4 hours, so I watched 2 hours, and then the next day I watched.
That's
2
smart.
hours.
That's
but
smart.
It was designed. Snyder's intention was that it be 4 1-hour installments.
Yeah.
A week apart.
Right.
And it breaks like that.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
But apparently, Warner's wants to kill the property so much that they're trying anything.
Get rid of it. Just put it all out there in one shot.
I was talking to this other friend, Derwin, and we were talking about why would Warner's hate this property so much that suddenly it's making money for them and it's being successful. Everybody wants to see it, and they're still trying to kill it. And the only thing I can think of is it's kind of a producer's thing.
Yeah.
It's never designed to make money.
Right, exactly.
It was maybe the plan was to have it permanently get them out of the superhero business.
Well, I think what's funny is that even though, he was fired, and the way WB did it, which was so sleazy, I mean, his daughter commits suicide. Him and his wife are mourning because his wife is a producer as well. And then you just can them while they're in mourning. It just like, what is that? I mean, what is that? His wife and him were still on the credits for Wonder Woman. They were producers on that.
Yeah.
If you look at the footage of the making of Wonder Woman, the first movie, Zack Snyder's wife is there with Patty Jenkins in the directing, Gal Gadot. Aquaman too. He was a producer on Aquaman. So I don't understand what is their fascination with trying to get rid of Zack Snyder.
I don't know, but I don't think they're going to be able to get rid of him now.
I think he made too much money. Maybe he has one of those deals that he makes a chunk of change that they are regretting now.
That might be, but I think they're stuck with him.
Yeah, I mean, they're already planning to. The fans were announcing a worldwide release of a new hashtag called Restore the Snyder Cut, and they're going to launch it in a few days. It's going to be a worldwide release, so they're gearing up millions of people.
What do you mean restore?
Meaning that they want to see the next movie. They want to see the Justice League too.
Okay.
And also the Ayer cut, because the Ayer cut of Suicide Squad, the original villain in Suicide Squad was also Steppenwolf, but after the reviews of Batman versus Superman, they actually redid that one too, and then removed Wonder Woman from Suicide Squad. She was in a scene apparently apprehending Slipknot. Mm-hmm. They got rid of Steppenwolf and they made the witch member into a villain. And it didn't make sense. I mean, you had 10 minutes of the Joker and 3 helicopters falling. There was all these helicopters crashing in that movie. They turned it into a music video, essentially, is what they did. It's like when apparently there is 2 hours and 10 minutes of footage of just the Joker and Margot Robbie, and Jared Leto and them acting and doing the Joker Harley Quinn origin.
So it's basically a movie.
It's basically another movie, that they were supposed to, that they just chopped up and then redid. So they kind of gave it the same Justice League treatment with the Joss Whedon. So who knows why they do this stuff? When you got money to burn, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like Star Wars, Kathleen Kennedy, the last Star Wars had 8 different endings, that they filmed.
And then they probably tested them all on test audience.
Yeah, yeah,
See
yeah.
which one played best.
Right, exactly. I mean, that's Hollywood, right?
Yeah,
So,
I suppose.
you want to talk a little bit about what we did so far in Nemesis? Not what you're planning to do, but
I will tell you this. We had talked about how it's 1980s
Mhm.
New York City when she arrives. What I came to in the past couple of days is that if we go beyond this first arc,
Mhm.
this was prequel,
Right.
and the next arc would take place now.
Yeah.
So this sets her and her crew up to be kind of immortal, kind of cops, basically.
Right.
Kind of a couple of things I'm working.
Kind of like a Highlander type of thing, huh?
Well,
Like,
no. So Nemesis is the daughter of the goddess of night, Nyx, and she's chasing a satyr who does terrible things to wood nymphs, and just as she's about to get him, Zeus shows up, because Zeus always has a taste for young women, and she's rescued by her mother and sent to New York City in 1983 to hide from Zeus. What Nyx doesn't know, but Ray and I do, is that some of the old Olympian gods have already gotten there, and they're in place there. Now, this might sound a little bit like Percy Jackson. Do you know the Percy Jackson?
I never saw it, but I saw the commercials, yeah.
But it's nothing like Percy Jackson. Yeah. So she starts to work in a bar. She finds to work in a bar as a bartender, and she's there for 6 months. And then there starts to be a string of murders, and her friend gets killed. And she and this guy she met in the bar chase the killer. It turns out to be the satyr who came through when she came through.
Right.
And that's pretty much where we left it. That the satyr gets away. They don't stop him. The guy she's hanging out with is named Luke.
Which is Loki, right?
Which is Loki. But, I found some images of a different Loki that I think you're really going to like. You are already cast him with kind of reddish hair, and there are some images of Loki with this shock of red hair and a little red goatee and kind of a red motif, which is kind of nice for Loki.
Yeah.
So where we're going now is now they're playing detective, and they're going to track down this satyr and figure out where he is and how to get him, how to stop him. And their powers are vastly diminished on Earth, but they still have. They're still beyond normal humans, and they're still immortal, except that they can be killed. Right. But assuming they're not killed, they will continue to live on and on, like Olympians and Aesir would. So that's where we are. In the next episode, which the second plot existed. Neither Ray nor I still have copies of it, so I'm
the lost episode. Yeah.
So it's okay. I'm reimagining it. So this is 1980s New York. So there's punk rock and disco, right? CBGB. Right. Basically the tension between CBGBs and Studio 54.
Right.
And they're definitely both more CBGBs types.
Right.
Studio 54. But now they have to go to they ask some of the satyr's been kind of masquerading as a homeless guy. And so they go to the park, Tompkins Square Park. They interrogate some of the homeless guys, and one says, "I don't know. He used to do a little work for his uncle." His uncle? Yeah, his uncle. The guy. He's one of the co-owners of Club Elysium, which is Studio 54.
Right, right, right.
When they get there, they're going to find that the club owners are, in fact, she sees them and recognizes them. Hide, they can't see me here. It's Apollo and Dionysus,
Oh, nice.
and so we'll go from there.
Did
So
I,
Nemesis.
did I ever tell you that my mom originally wanted to name me Dionysus? Makes a lot of sense, right? And
We all call you Dion.
yeah, yeah. And her and my father had a huge argument over it, and I ended up being,
It's a tough name. It's a tough name to live up to.
it is.
So
Yeah.
when I was teaching at CW Post, one of the best students in the English department, I met her when she was a senior, and she then became a grad student. She's become a big deal. Was a woman named Aphrodite Jones.
Really? It sounds like a book.
And Aphrodite Jones was stunningly beautiful. She was maybe 2 inches taller than me, and she was black hair and blue eyes, and she was just stunningly beautiful. And can you imagine
I love that name.
having that name and not being beautiful?
I know, for real. Aphrodite.
If you do a Google search for her, she ended up writing true crime stories.
Really?
And has done very, very well for herself, writing books, true crime books.
That is awesome.
But yeah, that's like being named Dionysus, right?
For real.
Any of the gods, it's a lot of weight. That's a big burden to carry.
For real, it is. Well, unconsciously, I lived most of my life like Dionysus. It got me into trouble, but that was all before I got married and settled down.
The intention, your mother's intention, stuck.
Right, right, right.
Even though it didn't become your name.
You're right, exactly. She was sensing something, She
right.
was.
Give me a second. I've got to step away. I'll be right.
Go for it. So that's Gary Cohn. When he gets back, we'll talk a little bit more about some of the things that he's written in the past, just in case some of you viewers aren't familiar with his work. But Gary has had a long career as a writer and working for many different companies. DC Comics was one of the main companies. Then there was an indie comic book company which no longer exists. I think it was called Crusade Comics. And there was a character called She that he wrote for. And the artist is like escaping my mind, but he'll tell you all about it. It's like, there's a lot of different books and even like cartoons that have come about from some of his creations. New cartoons now that you can find on Netflix that were the basis for his works, and also the New 52 and DC Rebirth. So even though he is not writing those characters anymore, those characters still exist within the DC universe, and they've been passed on to other writers who are, continuing the legacy that Gary established and the mythology of those stories. So we'll talk to him, and we'll take a really quick break. I'm going to stretch and grab a beer. So give me a second, and you can enjoy the Eisner art. It's Will Eisner's month. Will Eisner week was 2 weeks ago. If you didn't hear about Will Eisner, go and read a graphic novel. Go Google him. Go to WillEisner.com. It's Will Eisner's month. It's March.
There are people who don't know who Will Eisner is?
Yeah,
wow.
Surprisingly. Let me go get a beer real quick.
So,
yeah.
The Eisner Awards.
Yeah, the Eisner Awards. Yeah, that's
which are the premier awards in comics given out every year at the San Diego Con, are named for Will Eisner.
That's correct. That's my dream. I want to get an Eisner. I want an ink pot. I want an Eisner. I'll get it eventually. I'll eventually get one. I'm working on that. That's my small time goal.
Okay.
So cheers. I know you don't drink, but
got water. Fine.
So Gary, we already established that you're a writer, that you're a great writer. Tell us about, how did you get into writing and comic books, of all things?
I learned to read on comic books. I learned to read on comic books and Dr. Seuss.
Which is now banned.
No, it's not.
I know,
No, it's not.
I know. People,
There were
certain things, certain elements are banned from his book.
They're not banned. It's not banned. The company that controls the heirs, the people who control the Dr. Seuss properties, felt that some of them were problematic, which they were.
Which they were.
And not only were they problematic, but they weren't even currently in print.
Right.
And the ones that had been in print weren't selling.
Right.
So, you cut your inventory, you cut your list of properties.
Yeah.
Every important Dr. Seuss book that we all remember and love, those are eternal because they make big money. But if they don't make big money, who's gonna?
That's what they call dog industry.
They thought they would get by with just cutting them, and they thought that by announcing it, this would get them some good press.
Right, not the other way. Well, if you think about it, Felix the Cat, Cat in the Hat, Mickey Mouse, those are all, if you think about it, they're really minstrel. They all come out of that whole minstralism of pop culture of American history.
Yeah. There's a great study of the minstrel shows called Blacking Up. That was written in late 60s, early 70s. It's a history of all of that. That's on my shelf someplace because it was one of my required readings when I was doing my master's in popular culture studies.
Yeah.
It was popular culture. How I became a writer. I was a reader very early. I was one of those kids who went to school knowing how to read, and then for the next 3 or 4 years, they taught me how to read, which was absolutely brutal and horrible and painful because I already know this stuff. I'm reading, comic books which were much more sophisticated than Dick, Jane, and Sally, and they're giving me Dick, Jane, and Sally. I was reading, the 700 hats or however many hats of Bartholomew Cubbins, Dr. Seuss book. It had story, it had complications, it had characterization, and they want me to read Run, Dick, Run. Spot Run.
Yeah. Dick and Jane and Spot, yeah.
So, pretty early on, I started telling stories about Batman and the characters I liked, and draw little stick figure versions. And then I started reading some more sophisticated stuff. Started reading science fiction novels. By the time I came out of 5th grade, I'd gone through the entire science fiction section of my local public library. And by the time I was 9 or 10 years old, I knew that I was already doing it. Wasn't doing it well, but I was doing it. And I knew that telling stories was what I wanted to do. So,
and then when you got into DC, I mean,
that was
when you guys
where Dan Michigan.
How did that happen? Getting into DC, like what was the first thing you worked on?
Dan Michigan was one of my high school buddies.
Right.
And we kind of followed each other around. I went to Plattsburgh my freshman year. He went to Michigan State. I didn't like Plattsburgh. It was too cold. It was too frozen. So I went to Michigan, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But I joined him at Michigan State. And the line I've been tossing out lately is I didn't understand then how much fun I was having. I was sulky and grumpy, and it must be someplace where things are better and more exciting. I could be in San Francisco. I was having a great time.
Right.
I was also being guided by really good professors, particularly my writing professors. And one of them brought the Clarion Science Fiction Writers Workshop to Michigan State. And so I ended up as one of the attendees at Clarion, where my teachers were Damon Knight and Kate Wilhelm, Samuel Delaney, Theodore Sturgeon, Harlan Ellison.
Nelson, wow.
And there were only 20 of us there. So we got lots of, and they stayed for a week each. So we had very, very close contact with them. And they were not nice to us in terms of their critiques of our work. They were.
Isn't that how it always is?
Well, that was the game. And they taught us not to be nice to each other either. The game was read the other person's story the night it gets printed up, and come in tomorrow prepared to attack it.
Oh my
rip
God.
it to pieces.
My God.
But the rule is stay with the work. So, for instance, you don't say, Ray, you must be a sexist piece of shit to write women this way.
Right.
You say, these women, the perspective on women in this story seems quite sexist.
Right.
You stay with the story, right? Here's a place where this is really sexist, and then here's another place, and you go after. Or here's a plot point that doesn't work. Not you, stupid shit. How can you write such a bad plot? It's, you don't ever direct it toward the person.
Right.
So we'd sit in a circle.
But you're tearing it apart nonetheless.
but it's not personal. It's about the story of the work. It's not an ad hominem attack. You're not assuming terrible things about the person because they wrote the story. You're assuming that the story has some flaws and you want to work it through. So we'd sit in a circle, and maybe 3 or 4 stories would come in that night, and anybody who wanted to critique it would say their piece, and then it would go to the visiting writer. And Harlan, being Harlan, did the very first story he read, and it turned out later that he did this for the very first story, no matter what, whether it's good, whether it's bad. He'd start very calmly. This doesn't work, and I think this is a problem. This sucks, and this. Look, how could you do? And finally, he would end up ripping it to pieces, throwing it on the ground, and jumping up and down, yelling, "It's shit! It's shit! It's shit!" And whoever was the poor victim, and then he'd say, "I could have done that with any of your stories."
Right.
So don't feel superior, and don't you feel particularly hurt about it. Now let's get down to really critiquing these things.
Right.
So I did that, and that pretty much it made me a better writer. But at one point, Damon Knight, who looked like Santa Claus, had the big white beard. I was meeting with him and Kate, his wife, in their suite, and they were talking. He said, "You could be one of the big guns in this business." And I didn't write the story for 3 years. So
he's like,
no, absolute terror. I didn't write again because I felt like how can I, the whole imposter syndrome thing.
Yeah.
But 2 years later, I was the assistant to the director of Clarion. So I became the guy running off the photocopies.
Wow.
But I actually got paid for it. But I also got to participate again. So I had 2 rounds of it.
Very cool.
So then I go to graduate school in Bowling Green in the Department of Popular Culture Studies. And Dan joins me the next year. Like I said, we kept following each other around. And we were teaching assistants. We shared an office with a few other people. We had desks side by side. And when we were grading papers or anything, we'd just start talking plots. We'd talk about comics. We'd talk about what would you do with Aquaman if you were writing Aquaman. And, there's not a whole lot of stuff for girls. What if we created something for girls? like a princess. You know, every girl believes that she's not, her parents aren't really her parents. She's really a magical princess from somewhere else. She's a foundling. And what were we going to call her? We'll call it the changeling, because it's like a changeling. We start to do stuff like that. That, by the way, eventually became Amethyst.
Yeah, Amethyst, yeah.
When we were trying to pitch something to DC, and Dan said, well, what if it had something to do with gems? You know, so ended up. So as we were doing this, he starts some mail correspondence with some editors at DC and Marvel. And a couple of them say, at DC, when they had the anthology books, pitch us a story or two.
Right.
So for 6 months, we pitched plots. And finally, Jack Harris said, yeah, I'll buy this one. So he bought one.
Cool.
3 pages, $18 a page, which we split in 2. So
right.
We each got $27. But he gave it to Ditko.
Really?
And, yeah, so the very first story we wrote was drawn by Ditko.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was great. And then a couple months later, he bought another one. Pretty soon he's buying more and more. And he mentioned us to other editors, and we started selling to others. And it got to the point where it seemed like one of us needed to be in New York, because the internet didn't exist, and everything had to go by mail and phone.
FedEx, yeah.
And it helped to be a face. You know, helped to be somebody they knew around the office.
Right.
Dan's wife was a doctor. She was working in a hospital in her residence, and they weren't leaving Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
And I was struggling to find a job. My then wife was a Cleveland girl, and one day I said to her, she said to me, why don't we move to New York? So we moved to New York. And then I got to be one of the guys showing up in the office once a week or once every other week, going from editor to editor. Hey, you need anything? Something I can do for you?
Hey.
And more and more, it took off for a while.
That's awesome. And then you did Blue Devil, right?
We did Blue Devil. We did Amethyst.
You wrote I Vampire and House of Secrets, right?
We did I Vampire. We were the last I Vampire writers in that thing. I did El Diablo in the back of Jonah Hex for a while.
Was that the Western Zorro looking one?
Yeah. I did Barren Earth in the back of Warlord for 21 issues, and then I did 4-issue Conqueror of the Barren Earth miniseries.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, at one point it looked like I was really going to be one of the guys, and
what happened?
my personal life crashed and burned, and I've always I've never been one of those people who could work through crisis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's some people who say, just keep doing the work, whatever else is going on. Your life can be collapsing around you, but you've got control of the work, and just keep doing it. I was never one of those guys. When my personal life went haywire, I went haywire. I started blowing deadlines. And,
you also did the first He-Man comic with the toys, right? You did.
I did. The first mini comics of the toys were done by Don Glut.
Oh, Don Glut. Okay.
And they weren't exactly comics. They were like illustrated short stories.
Yeah, like little pamphlets. Yeah.
And then when DC got the contract, I think it was Laurie Sutton, might have been Dave Maddock, whoever was the editor, said, do you want to do this? I said, does it pay? What is it? And well, it's this character. They showed me pictures called He-Man. I said, are you kidding? He-Man? Are they even trying? And this is the ugliest toy I've ever seen. It's nothing like a human being. And then they told me a story of how it was the Conan the Barbarian toys. But in the days before,
Conan the Barbarian and Lavender.
Well, it was originally the toys that were going to coincide with the Arnold Schwarzenegger, James Earl Jones movie.
Right.
Skeletor was originally going to be Tulsa Doom.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and He-Man was going to be Conan.
Oh.
And this was before there were video stores where the only way you'd see a movie is in a theater.
Right.
And they remembered the debacle of the Alien toys, which had totally crashed and burned because no kid had seen an R-rated movie.
Right.
And so all they saw with this toy was this big, ugly bug. It's about this big. And so, yeah, where's the Joker comes in. So nobody bought those toys. So
they're worth a lot of money now, though, believe it or not.
I know. I had one that I sold for way too little about 20 years ago. Anyway, the people at Mattel see the movie and because it was our R-rated movie.
Right, they're like, oh no.
And no kid is going to see this movie. It's going to be a disaster. We've got to do something because we've already gone to tooling.
Right.
We've got these figures about to go into production. What do we do? Let's change the heads. Just change the heads and we'll make them. So we'll get this guy this kind of generic Prince Valiant-y kind of head. Right. And we'll give this guy, what do you want to put on a bad guy? Let's put a skull on him. Okay, let's put a skull on him. We get this guy, a skull head. And what are we going to name him? Oh, I don't know. He's pretty brolic, you know. Let's call him He-Man.
He-Man.
He's like a real He-Man.
Like She-Woman.
And what about the bad guy? Well, he has a skeleton, so he's a real big muscular skeleton. He's Skeletor. And is it going to make any money? Yeah, maybe we'll make back our nut. You know, maybe in the last year or two we'll make back our investment. And so there it is. And they said, all right, some of these, sure. What are the other characters? Well, there's Ram Man. Are you kidding me?
Man at Arms was
rams things with his head. That's what he does. He's Ram Man. So
it was the 80s.
But what I didn't get was that anything that literalist is going to speak to little children.
Right.
A 10-year-old doesn't have a whole lot of sophistication.
Right.
And something that's that literal, he Ram Man, he rams.
It's a children and perverts. It's
Manny faces where you turn his head, you turn the little dial on his head, and each time you turn the dial, a different face comes. It's got 3 faces. It's got a nice face. It's got monster face.
I think there was one guy called Manimal or something like that too.
A Moss Man.
A Moss Man.
Moss Man is covered with flocking.
That's hilarious. We got George in here. We'll keep on going. We're going to throw George in and he'll jump in on it. Go ahead.
Hey, George, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, fellas?
We're just talking about the He-Man. So Gary was telling us about the He-Man story that I've never heard before. Go ahead, Gary.
Oh, nice.
So that's how it began. And now, from Dark Horse a few years ago,
right?
It's the collected He-Man.
Right.
And for the first time, my mini comics are full size.
Yeah, exactly. The headset, George, our headset's making like crackle noise. Hey, check your headset. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, so you were saying.
What I didn't realize was that there's a whole He-Man cult out there.
Right.
And they started to find me about 15 years ago.
Right.
And I am like a god unto them. And I've been interviewed a couple of times, and the interview's been published, and it's never been face to face. It's always on the phone. But I can hear the person. I can hear them being crushed as I tell them this story.
Right.
And you developed the whole mythos. It was so deep. Were you borrowing? I wasn't doing shit. I was just making it up to make enough money to pay my rent. And then I read an interview with Don Glut, who was the guy who did before me.
Right.
And they ask them the same question. The whole mythos started with you. What are you talking about? It was crap. I was just trying to pay the rent.
Right, exactly. This is just random. This is like the Mad Men of comics. Like if there was like a Mad Men TV show, but for comic books, it's for advertising.
But if you do a Google search for me and He-Man, there are 3 or 4 interviews that come up, and all the covers. And apparently, I'll die, and nothing I ever did will be remembered except for that. The 7 little He-Man comics.
And George has got a comic book coming out now, don't you, George?
What do you have, George?
No, I have a book that's been out. It's I have 2. I have Ross 5377, which is out now. You can get it on my website. And there's The Adventures of Wonder Duck, which is also at Darkfire Press. If you go to darkfirepress.com, you can pick up a copy of it there.
Okay.
And that one's selling pretty good, right?
It's doing well, man. That one's doing really well. Yeah, so I'm happy with it. Big shout out to James DeSantis. He's the mastermind behind Darkfire Press, and he was
really. Okay.
James.
I know Jam real well.
Right, Gary?
Yeah. That's his publishing company, Darkfire Press, and he helped me out with that. Yeah, no, definitely
We
well.
got the crazy man here too.
Yeah, we got Sam
crazy
Vera
man
in the house.
Sam in the house. What's up?
One thing about JD DeSantis, he was JM. Sorry, JM. I had a beer. JM. Put it out there. JM DeSantis. He was in our. Remember, he was in our classroom, Gary, on Saturdays with that comic book group, that club.
Yeah.
What was that?
Comic Artists Guild.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. He was part of that. That's right.
Yeah, he was.
So humble origins.
Great dude, man. Great guy.
Yeah, and
very talented artist too. He's a very talented artist and writer.
A lot of talent came out of that pool.
Yeah.
So and we have Sam Vera here. Sam has the professional setup. He's got the computers. He's got the flux capacitor. He's got
the flux capacitor.
He's got the interocitor.
This is how we do it. What's up, guys?
How you doing, man? How's everything?
Good. We just finished interviewing a couple of guys. We had shows back to back, so that's why we had to come on now. So thanks for having us.
So no problem, Gary. So these are the DaCraze guys. They have their own podcast.
Okay.
They're doing like a Indiegogo, right, for their book Forbidden coming out.
Yes.
I mean, maybe we should like talk to them, like get their ears, like see what we can get, like as far as like maybe launching the next issue of Nemesis. Maybe they can give us some advice about doing a launching campaign or something like that. So
I mean, right off the bat, I would probably tell you go to Kickstarter. Indiegogo is tough.
I am very reluctant to do anything like that until the work is in the can.
Yeah, no, that's another one.
I don't ever want to promise anything I can't deliver. So when it's done, then I'll promote it. Yep. I'm not going to hype something that's. I have learned this with Paris Collins and I have been working on New Devil for 15 years, and the first issue is all drawn, kind of, but but if we had done something like a Kickstarter 5 or 6 or 7 years ago, that would not have worked out real well.
Right. Yeah.
So and Ray is a much more reliable producer.
That's because I'm like Tyler Durden. I don't sleep. I just draw and write.
So I would have more confidence doing something like that with Nemesis, and yet I'm waiting.
Yeah.
So let me finish this plot. Once the plot's in your hands, I have faith that it will get produced. I know that I'm the sticking point. And so let me finish this plot. And once you have the plot, I know that when you turn to it, it starts to get done, and it doesn't stop until it's done. So that's the faith I have in you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we'll talk about what happens at that point. I will tell you something that's kind of cool that came to me recently as I've been brainstorming this. By the end of the first arc, a parliament of pantheons.
Mhm.
I like that phrase. A parliament of pantheons
Mhm.
has interceded because things are getting too hot on Earth. There's almost a war between the Olympians and the Aesir in New York City, and Nemesis and Luke pretty much put the kibosh on that. But things are getting hot. So a parliament of pantheons, gods from one god representing each of 100 pantheons, decides that Earth is going to be neutral ground, and Nemesis and Luke and the Minotaur, they're the sheriffs. They're the ones who henceforth are going to maintain some sort of order in the various activities of all the different gods who are kind of passing through Earth. And one of the rules is don't let anybody know. Right? Nobody can know that you are a god, because they have to believe that there aren't, Aztec blood eaters showing up in Lower East Side.
Right.
So
I like that. Don't give away too much, because next thing you know, DC's going to put out. We have spies in DC, huh? Because I swear to God, every time I was posting something, it'd show up in a comic book. So I stopped posting all my new art, the progress, the drawing in progress. I just stopped that because it just keeps showing up in DC. I was like, I got to stop this, So we have to put a cap on that,
Okay, so that's where we're going.
All right.
But what I'm working on now is everything from the end of the first issue to that point, and it's probably, I'm thinking maybe another 100 pages.
Right.
So that maybe when we finally put it all in one package, it'll be a 128-page package.
That's a nice
big graphic novel. And maybe we'll do both a black and white and a color edition.
Yeah, that's a good idea, actually, because black and white is coming back. What do you guys think about black and white versus color when you guys work on your projects? Have you done both, or you do exclusively color?
I've done exclusively color. Actually the Indigogo campaign that's on right now for Forbidden is to color Forbidden, because the book is completely done already in black and white.
Right.
But just the
you
color.
Never thought about just doing a black and white version just to put it out there?
Well, I mean, the thing is, I like black and white when it's like grayscaled almost. When you have maybe if it's in gouache. We did a book like that called Street Journal, which was black and white. It had a little gouache in it, though it has some tones in it. Me personally, I'm not a big fan of just line work being black. Just a black and white line work and then putting it out. For me, it just doesn't look finished. But I don't know how Sam feels about that.
It depends on how good it is.
Yeah.
It depends on how well it stands. Color can cover up a lot of flaws.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
It's like Zepatone used to, but Zepatone looked beautiful.
Right. Yeah.
Sam, what do you think? When you did Alien in My Toilet, was that all full color from the jump, or did you start out black and white, like doing the old school mocha style photocopies and stapling it together? Did you start that way, or?
No, it was all full color. Forbidden, I was going to produce in black and white.
It looks pretty like Conan Prince Valiant style thing, has that vibe.
Yeah, George was went on top of the roof and started screaming, "You can't do it in black and white. You need to know the color.
Color it."
Yeah, so that's why I did the Indiegogo campaign to commission a colorist, because the entire book is done. It's just not colored. And it's 138 pages. And but the first issue on Indiegogo is to
have fun.
No, we already commissioned a colorist, and
that's a lot of work.
Amazing job. The moment I made the goal, I commissioned a colorist, and now we're trying to make the stretch goal, and we got 3 days left. The campaign ends Saturday, and we're like 140 $48 away from the stretch goal, and
what's the ultimate goal that you're trying to raise? What, because you're saying stretch
as high as it can go, because I want this colorist to do the entire
right.
issues. So whatever surplus there is going straight to the colorist.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I threw in an incentive to, because it was the last 3 days. Anybody who pledged at $15 or better, if we made that stretch goal, I will throw in a commission sketch card for every person at $15 and up. If we made that. So
that's cool. Sketch
yeah,
card. I like that.
And it's getting some traction because got 2 pledges today once I made that announcement. So it's just it's a grind, but I'm the colorist is doing an amazing job. I mean, it's almost like remember when you're a kid when you used to play video games, but then the Dungeons and Dragons video game came out and it looked like an animation.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
screen. Yeah. That's how I felt when I looked at the colors that she's producing. It's like the drama. She captures the emotion, and it's just the colors are so powerful. It just took me back. But yeah. So this one's going to be in color. It was going to be originally in black and white.
Excuse me again.
All right, no problem.
Cat needs her snack.
Yeah, I mean, when I did Bronx Heroes, I was the primary colorist. But like page, I don't know. When I got to like page 60, I was on burnout. Like I was literally coloring 2 pages a day for 4 months.
Damn.
And I was like, I need help. I'm going to commit suicide. I got to jump out the window. Because it was like 150 pages. And we ended up getting some people that volunteered to color, some really good colorists. Like John Riddle was one guy. And then the late Dan DaCraze did flats for me. And he did the title of the book as well, because he was a letterer for like Ninja Turtles and Archie, and he did lettering for every major company, like Now Comics, DC Comics. So a lot of guys jumped in, honestly, because I mean, honestly, put it out there. I mean, you got one person like that's doing the colors, but they're gonna hit a burnout point, 138 pages. I mean, I would see if you could divvy up the work a little bit. What I did, I farmed the work out to 4 colorists, and then when it came back to me, if it wasn't cohesive and it didn't match, I went and I did the art director thing, which will piss off your colorist, but it's okay. You want it to have a cohesive feeling where it feels like the same person did it, and they still got their credit and and got their bones.
Yeah. At what point did they burn out? Like at what page count did they start burning out? Did you feel
they started burning out like page 10? 10, page 20. But remember, I would go back in and because all the colorists have their own style and their own look. So I was the guy who was the median. I had to go back in and like make it match, make it work. Like that this book doesn't look too, because some people colored like it was the 90s, like it was like an early Image comic. Yeah, some people colored like it was the 80s, like it was like these vomit colors. Like what is this vomit coloring? And then I had to basically redo all that stuff. So
that's not, yeah. I mean, props to you, but I'm not looking to do that. This person that's all they do. That's their career. That's what they do. All so, right.
That's a 24/7.
That's it. That's what they do. And so, and it's been able to produce a page a day, which has been amazing.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. So we want to get people to donate to Indiegogo, right? $15. And what's the incentive?
$15 minimum threshold. And if we hit the stretch goal, then everybody who pledged at $15 or greater will get a commission sketch card. As just it's an add-on bonus. It's not on Indiegogo. It's me. I just threw it in there.
Who's drawing it? Who's drawing this added bonus?
Me.
You drawing it?
All of them. All the sketch cards. Yeah.
Everybody. All right.
Everybody.
All right. So I'm gonna donate $15 to you. Did I donate to you guys already, or is that before the first goal?
I think you. I don't know. I gotta look. I gotta look at the names.
All right. Well.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't have to say. You don't have to say. Because I'll be embarrassed if I didn't. I was
like, ask me no questions. I'll tell you no lies.
But
yeah, I think I donated. No, I didn't.
But remember that's one. Now, correct if I'm wrong, Sam. Once we reach those $1,000, everybody who pledged 15 or more gets it. You don't have to pledge today to get it.
That's good.
Yeah, we have from now till Saturday to pledge, and but that's an extra incentive. On top of whatever's available under stretch goal, when we hit that, we want to unlock it. This is just a bonus. My way of trying to get some excitement in the last 3 days.
No, I love that because Gary and I want to launch these books out. And what are some of the things, like some of the hooks that work when you were like doing this campaign? What are the things that you did that maybe we can adapt and say help us out with our little book, which is it's not even drawn or written at this point, but
well, the first one is the first issue exists.
The first issue is.
It's
what are some of the goals? This is the first issue. But what are some of the things that you can that you did that you found successful on your campaign?
3 hours a day on social media.
Really?
3 hours a day on social media, and every day was a different piece of art or promo piece that I put out to entice the audience. So every day I posted a new image. Every single day. So there's 30 different images for 30 days on social media, and it's on. And I know on just on Facebook alone, I'm a member of like 20 communities. So posting in every one of those communities. Then on Instagram, on Twitter, on Snapchat, on Twitch. I mean, it's everywhere. And so anywhere that there are people is where I'm posting. And I think that's the biggest thing. It's you have to, especially if it's your first time, and my first time, and it was definitely a harder run on Indiegogo than it was on Kickstarter. When you have, if you're gonna do it, don't start it on Indiegogo. Start it on Kickstarter. That's my first thing, and
did you also like give out like flyers to comic book stores and stuff like that?
No, I didn't do that. I didn't do any of that stuff. What I did was I joined the communities. I went on a bunch of podcasts. We promoted it on our show, so we run commercials on our show. And on Twitter,
plugging.
And on Twitter, I post 3 times a day on Twitter, and on Instagram because I have multiple accounts. I'm posting on those accounts, and I think that's the biggest thing. It's just constantly promoting. Don't assume that it's just going to happen on its own, especially when you're trying to get name recognition. Nobody knows who you are, so there's so much to choose from. There's so many talented creators out there and so many projects that are amazing. So it's in your best interest to those 30 days. You have to sacrifice. And I wake up in the mornings and I'm creating a new piece of promo and posting it. George knows because I tag him on every one of them. And so George is at work and he got tagged 40 times. He's like, damn. And
who's tagging me 20 times on this thing? Who's doing this? But I think Gary had made a good point. I think you have to have finished product so that once you launch it, you can actually place some of those pages in your campaign so people can see, oh, okay, this is what it's going to look like. All right, cool. Because then that gives people the sense that, oh, this is a finished piece of work or close to finish. I am going to get my book, because I think that's what people want. They want to have that book in their hands when it's over.
Yeah, and that's what. And so when we did the Kickstarter with Catch the Crazies, we didn't have it ready.
Right.
So what happened was for 30 days, we thought the artist was doing the pages, and then dropped the bomb when we launched it that he doesn't have anything.
He lost his arms in an accident, right?
and he bailed on us. So what was funny? It was like what was funny is that weekend I was on DeviantArt and all these other programs trying to find an artist, and so for 48 hours I went through like.
I think I found one of them here. Right?
Lend me a hand. Can you give me a hand here?
Yeah, you have issues. So for 48 hours, I went through 50 portfolios. I put out an ad on DeviantArt. I got like 50 people react to it. And I said, "Here's my budget. Here's the timeline. This is what I'm looking for." And I said, "Don't inquire if you're truly serious about this." And then I locked it. I didn't want anybody commenting on the post because you know how people get.
Of course.
I said, if you're interested, you're going to contact me directly. So that's what happened. So I got about 50 portfolios. I went through those portfolios. I landed on JC Grande. For Catch the Crazies, the great thing about him is that he's fast. He turns his pages
He's fast, dude. He's fast.
What platform was this again that you said in what was it the website you said 54 portfolios? What was that called?
DeviantArt.
DeviantArt. Wow, people still use that site. That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Gary, you're a writer. You do a lot of these. You write a lot. So if you're ever looking for an artist, now you know where to go. DeviantArt. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that it was still around. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. A lot of the stuff. Well, that's still growing.
Wow.
Yeah. So I used that, and that's how I found JC. And so that was that first launch of Catch the Crazies was a little off the rocker. But
Pretty cool.
with Forbidden, it's done. So all I'm doing is commissioning a colorist, and so that's the great thing about it. And but the challenge is I've only been back in comics for 2 years, and last year was my first time doing a crowdfunding campaign.
Every time you say that in an interview, another year has passed by. So you're in it, man. You're back in it. Don't worry about what happened before. Yeah.
But we're still building that recognition. No one, so everyone knows us now for Catch the Craze, but they don't know us for the comics.
Right.
So trying to build that audience, and so I think now it's getting better.
Mm-hmm.
It gets a little easier every time, and I can say I did Indiegogo, been there, I survived Indiegogo. It's a challenge on Indiegogo, but I think I'm going to play in the Kickstarter sandbox a little more.
What's the difference between the two that you feel? What Kickstarter? Because I've done an Indiegogo and it is hard. I mean, I raised $45.
I think the biggest difference, Ray, is that Kickstarter has an app and Indiegogo doesn't. And I think that makes a big difference. That and the fact that Indiegogo takes your money now and Kickstarter gives you a few days. Like if it makes it, Kickstarter will take your money. If it doesn't make it, it doesn't take your money. Indiegogo takes your money whether this thing gets done or not. Whether it gets funded or not, your money's gone. So, I think they gotta Indiegogo's got a little bit of to catch up with Kickstarter. I think personally, I don't know.
Right.
Does Kickstarter take a percentage, or
yes? Yeah, they both do.
It's not a flat fee. It's a percentage of what you.
It's a percent. I think it's like 5%.
Okay.
Like that.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
Something to think about.
Yeah. Not bad.
Yeah. So I think it's the bigger thing is that Kickstarter has brand recognition and has a bigger reach, and it's where most of the bigger names want to play in. Indiegogo doesn't have that same reach, and when you put in the search at Kickstarter, you're gonna get thousands of links. When you do it for Indiegogo, you're gonna get a limited amount of links, and the sites that track campaigns, you got more sites that track Kickstarter than they do Indiegogo. So those are the things. Indiegogo is user friendly for the creator, the one who's launching the page. It's so easy to use. You don't have to wait for approval on your campaign. None of that stuff. Kickstarter, you gotta submit it. They gotta approve it. They'll ask for changes.
So there's more red tape.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, don't get ahead of yourself. There's a lot of rules that have to be observed before we get.
Do you have a complete person in parts there?
Yeah. So, but they have a bigger reach and they have a bigger audience. Huge audience.
He does.
I don't even want to know.
Wow.
Now we know where the bodies are buried.
That's gonna be Will Eisner's Spirit in a few days. We're getting ready for the Spirit show. So that's
That is crazy. That is crazy. Now we know where Ray's been all this time.
Oh man.
My wife is the best. Look at that. She made me some dinner here. Look at that. You guys.
Oh, look at that.
Look at that. That's like gourmet. I feel like I'm in a restaurant. My wife is the best. Nice. 18 years. Don't get sick of me. You can't leave.
18 years. You can't leave. It's like that. You just can't leave.
Yep. You remember, Ray, You remember my last girlfriend, Sam,
Yeah,
the redhead.
I do. Yeah.
So somebody posted on Facebook, what would yourself 5 years ago say to you if they could see you now? and she's somebody who's gone through some health crises, and she's much better now. She would have, her 5 years ago self would have said, "I'm so proud of you." And I wrote, myself 5 years ago would have said, "You're single again? How did you fuck this one up?"
Yeah.
Nice. Yes. Well, George is on his way there. He just joined.
I have a track record. Although I did make 16 years in one relationship.
There you go.
But then 5, 8, 4, 2, 2.
Sounds like a countdown.
Sounds like Powerball numbers.
Yeah, I was talking to Michigan, because Michigan has been married for 45 years. I think they're coming up on 50 years.
Wow.
And it's got to be about 45. Dan just turned 68, and they've been married since they got out of college, so about 22. So like 45, 46 years.
Wow.
And I was saying to him, your life, and he's got kids, and he's got grandkids now. And I said, your life is like a novel.
Mm-hmm.
My life is like a collection of short stories with
Your life is
a common thread running through them. Different jobs, different women, different one right after another. And so I guess that's how I guess that's how I'm comfortable living. But congratulations, 18 years, and you get a bowl of, is that noodles?
It's meat and onion over rice with some spinach or something.
Oh,
Damn good though.
yeah, I'll bet it is.
Nice. The good life.
The good life. Well, the secret to an 18-year marriage is don't talk about your problems. Nobody wants to hear them.
Don't have the heart to heart, right?
Don't have the heart to heart.
Don't talk about the relationship.
Right. Ignorance is bliss.
Just say yes to everything.
Yeah. I mean, that's really what it is. You have to respect each other's space.
We have to talk about the relationship. No, we don't. No, we don't.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm very lucky.
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
And it's good that you know this.
What are we? 2021.
2021. Yes, 2021.
That's it.
Right.
And you guys are married as well, right?
23 years.
23 years. Wow.
Yeah.
Damn.
You don't look old enough to be married for 23 years.
they got me out of the womb. That's like he's a keeper. Yeah. George enjoyed the club. He just actually moved in a couple of months ago.
Yeah. Moved in with my girlfriend. Not married yet, but that's in the work also. So yeah.
Look at that.
You're like a younger Gary, basically. Like a
No, may this one be the keeper for you.
I'll be singing the theme song to catch the
This
craze.
is my wish for you.
There you go. See.
But when you first move in, you disappear. So Sam's going to be doing that show by himself for a little while.
No. You know what's crazy? I've actually done more shows now that I moved in than I did before. Quarantine, man. Quarantine. We've been banging them out.
Oh yeah, it's quarantines and it's been crazy.
So you're not watching TV with her and chilling and Netflixing and chilling and everything like that. You're like,
Well, I mean, we have our schedule. So like Sam and I will record Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and then the rest of the time,
right. Oh, that's good.
He's gallivanting across the states, and
gallivanting. I used to do that solo, not no more.
not anymore.
Gallivanting. So
That's right.
How far are you away from your goal? Like, what's the percentage again? I know you mentioned it before, but
We're at 888 right now.
Yeah, we're
not bad.
what 100 and what 12?
22, 112. Yeah, 112.
112 away
Right.
from that stretch goal.
Are you going to do like a live countdown? Like,
Well, I like to show some people some of the art in the book. If you don't mind, I'm just going to hold it up to the screen.
let's see some of this artwork.
Yeah.
Gary and I love looking at art.
One of the covers is
Ray, do you have any indication of who's watching this besides, or are the four of us just talking to each other?
No, we have currently we have 6 people live. We have
Do we?
5 people on my page, 1 person on Twitch, and we had another person earlier on the.
That's good.
Yeah.
Pull that up.
this is an alternate cover.
That is really good.
Yeah, that's by the Wolf, David Quiles.
Oh, David Quiles. Where
Yes,
did you get the name from the past? Oh my
Throwback. Throwback.
So that's the how.
That's the artist.
Yeah,
That's
really
the
good
one.
stuff.
And what's his name?
David Quiles. I'm sure you've met him before. I think he was also a CAG guy, wasn't he?
I don't know.
I know he was in the Dream Sequence show that I did in 2009.
Okay.
Yeah, he did a book called Bare Knuckle Boxing or something like that. Back in the
Bare
day.
Knuckle Fighter or something like that.
But,
Yeah.
and he
That's
just
really
did
good.
these really intense figures. Like, and he was an intense guy. He was like that guy in the Punisher Netflix series.
Yeah. this is that piece.
It could turn that, tilt the top of it back toward you a little bit.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. I see the cover.
Okay.
A lot of detail.
That's it colored.
If you have a JPEG of that, you could send that to me, and I'll post it on there, and we can share it on this end.
So here's something that strikes me. Maybe it's because I'm old school and I'm so used to newsprint, but a lot of color just looks way too saturated for me.
Mm.
Just it's the layering of the color is too dense.
I think that's because of the process. When you look at print on demand, a lot of them use laser.
That's really good too.
This is done by the artist is Anibal Arroyo. He did the interiors for this.
He spent a little time on that.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
this is a beautiful piece.
And where's Jonathan? Wasn't Jonathan supposed to be here as well?
Here's a pinup, a cover, another cover for Forbidden.
Nice.
By
a cool one.
Artist.
Anibal Arroyo.
Oh wow.
Are trim and bleed a thing of the past?
Thing of the past.
Really? Because the art's going right to the edge of the page.
Yeah, because now you can, with Photoshop and all these other programs, you can crop it in after.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can create your own crop lines afterwards, and after you're scanning it.
Yeah, I want to show you this one piece is beautiful.
This is gorgeous. Let me see. How can I make you the main guy so you can look at this really huge? Let me see how we can do that.
Do that.
Let me play with this a little bit. We gotta make Sammy over here the main guy. Oh, that's me. How do I do that, Sam? You're the expert, Sam. How do I make you the main dude?
Select it.
I have to select you. I have to click on you.
Huh? Yeah. Oh, you know what? You're almost there. What you do is just move me into your spot.
Oh, got it. There we go. Wow, that looks great.
Yeah.
That's got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pull back a little bit. Let's see that girl. Oh wow, yeah, that looks fantastic. Yeah, Annabelle, man.
That's what you. Anibal has a knack for fantasy art.
Yeah.
And
I know him.
Huh?
Annabelle Arroyo.
Yeah, Anibal Arroyo.
Little Steve's Closet.
Yeah,
Yes.
I have a story about that.
Yeah.
Can I tell you a story about that?
Yeah. Let's hear it. Let's hear Annabelle's story.
So
We'll embarrass him.
it's probably 10 years ago. I met him at a little con. It might have been one of your cons. And he had this amazing looking thing, Little Steve's Closet, that was his son. And he had, I don't know, a bunch of pages. And he said, someday I'm going to finish this. And I said, pick a day. And he said, what do you mean? I said, pick a day. Give yourself a deadline. And he did. And it's great. So,
Yeah, he did. He's publishing it through JM's in print also, through Darkfire Press.
mhm.
Yeah.
So that's one of the secrets. You don't ever say someday about anything.
Mhm.
Pick a day.
Yeah, I think that's the
Yeah.
biggest thing is you gotta hold yourself accountable to your goals.
Exactly.
And if you don't have a timeline, then you're just going to lie to yourself and you're never going to achieve it. You have to have some sort of structure in place. But he's a fantastic artist.
Yeah, those pages are gorgeous.
Yeah, we met Anibal Arroyo at the Star Wars Con in New Jersey, Secaucus. We shouldn't have been at the Star Wars Con because we were trying to promote our comics and nothing sold. And but the good thing that came out of it was the fact that we met Anibal that back in 04.
Wow, that's a long time ago.
Yeah, so I handed Anibal the script and the character designs and the plot and the character history and bios, and he started working on it. And once I started seeing his renditions, I knew he was the right guy. And back then we did just 2 issues, and then I left comics for over a decade.
We're not going to go into that, man. You're back.
So now, for all of you out there, this is the reintroduced Forbidden.
Now, what's interesting, Gary, what you don't know about these guys, is they have their own podcast, right? And they're always dropping these really good gems when it comes to like the comic book business. You know, because these guys have been in it as maybe longer than I have. Because I remember Sam back in the day when he didn't have a beard and he wore like a 3-piece suit to the comic shows. And every show he was wearing a suit. He looked like he was going to sell you something. He was like determined to like take you down and that you're going to buy his book. So can you guys like enlighten us with one of your gems, you know, and they're like, let's get your meds over here.
Get your meds. Listen. That little gem that Gary dropped is a good one, man. Pick a day. I love that. That should be a T-shirt. Gary, make that a T-shirt. Pick a day.
It's better than pick a booger.
Or pick a wedgie, right?
I know, right? Yeah. I think, you know, those topics come from our learnings. So you know, we want to share the highs and lows, and we try to give insight to so people can make better decisions, because
learn from our mistakes.
We've had some roadblocks along the way, and we had to learn from them because there wasn't a playbook when we started. You know, it was we were self-exploring, and it was like, all right, you know what, you want to go and climb that mountain? We've never been up. We didn't even know what we needed, what kind of weather it would be, none of that stuff. We just decided to go. But that was the great thing about it. So we took all those lessons from back then. And when we decided to come back together. Now we're smarter, wiser. Not only that, but all the stuff that I've learned in business and what George learned in business, and we've taken that and just applied it. Now, even with all of that knowledge, there's still hiccups. Just like starting a Kickstarter and the artist bails. So things that you can't control, but how you react to it is what you can control.
Right.
And that's what I try to tell people. You can either play the victim and say, "Oh, woe is me. This is I failed because of," or you could say, "All right, here's an opportunity for me to adapt to a situation that unfortunately was out of my control, but I can control what happens going forward. So let me take control." And then within 48 hours, we locked in an artist.
So you don't give them that, "I'm going to make you an offer that you can't refuse" speech. You don't go to the artist and tell them that, like, "I'm going to break your legs if you don't finish this book."
No, because most of the artists outside of Anibal were all overseas. So, there's nothing you can do. It's not like I can go down the block and say, "Yo, what's up?" Grab you by the ear. But those things happen. So you have to be ready for it. And I think the biggest thing is having a pull list. Making sure that you have a pull list of artists that you've already started networking with, a pull list of talent. So that way, in the event that you run into a situation, hopefully they're free and they're not tied up to a project at that moment, and you can go and seek out that support. So I think the biggest thing is just being prepared and always having a backup for the things that you can see coming.
I just wrote a truth from you. A lot of the time, things happen that you can't control. What you can control is how you react to it.
There you go. Thank you.
That is good.
This is the Dalai Lama of comics, and Vera.
Well, we exchange wisdom as we have it, but that's good.
There you go. So that's my piece for the day.
That's true of everything. And that gets back to what I was talking about before, right? About the demise of my time with DC. I couldn't control the things that happened. although some of them I did, some of them were wrong choices.
Mhm.
But where I fucked up was in how I reacted to them.
Right. I feel that too. That life is a culmination of good decisions and bad decisions, and that's how your life turns out.
And now that I'm almost 70 years old, I'm ready.
Right.
I'm ready. Whatever I was at 25, I'm ready to be that now.
That's crazy.
And you will be. And you will.
I hope so.
You know,
Just give me another decade or two.
the first business book that I read about comic books was by, I forgot who was the author. I was just scanning my bookshelf to see if I see it, but it was actually a book by Now Comics, which is not even around anymore. But the publisher, it said how to self-publish comic books. And it was a graphic novel, and it was all text inside. But it was
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
Purple cover with all
I
these.
think I have it on my bookshelf. Yeah.
And that was the book that really gave me the blueprint on how to get started doing my own convention. Was this guy who started Now Comics, and he got all these properties. Like I know he had like Married with Children. I know they had like Ralph Snart and Green Hornet and a whole bunch of stuff that they did. Ghostbusters. So that guy put out a book, and that book I read that book like the Bible, back and front to back. I had little sticky notes in it. I always went back to it after a show. And I literally kept doing it until the book was outdated. I was like, well, CD-ROMs, what? It's like, but I mean, until I, like you said, experience, trial and error, doing shows. Like I remember trying to sell black superheroes to a black audience. And literally, true story, guys were like, I want to read X-Men. I mean, black fans. They were like, I don't care about these characters. But now look at the push. Like I was really ahead of the curve. 10 years of doing black superheroes as the main thing in my company, maybe a little bit more than a decade. And since 2008. And now it's all the craze. Everyone's, all the craze. But now it's like I was doing something that nobody was into, and now it's like everywhere. It's in TV, it's on HBO, it's like black sci-fi, it's like all this stuff. And I think as an indie person, somewhere along the line through our experience, we're always ahead of it. But because we're not so big, we don't really get to capitalize on it. Like somebody else reads our book that's working for HBO and like, hey, we're going to use this on our show. Like what happened with me and Watchmen, like I had a story about black cowboys and like, oh, this is great. Oh, we had runaway slaves. These are great. And they were like, oh, can you make a sci-fi comic book for us? I was like, yeah, sure. You're going to pay me? And they were like, no, well, we'll give you credit. I was like, no, I'm 45. I'm not 20. You need to pay me. You're HBO. But
it's exposure.
Right. It's like, so, but I actually was a consultant, an uncredited consultant on the Watchmen TV show that was there because they saw my books. They had my books. They shot scenes with the books, but then they were cut out because they rewrote the pilot. But
did they pay you?
No, they didn't. The payment was supposed to be drawing
exposure.
They wanted me to draw 4 sci-fi comic books for them, but instead, which doesn't make sense, right? But 4 full comic books that were a sci-fi character. They were interested in Captain Victory at first. I told them no. I said I got stuff. I showed them what I had. And after 3 months of back and forth, because DC was charging them $15,000 to just show a comic book on the screen, so I said, "I'll give me half. I'll give you your books." You think they would have went with that, right? They didn't. They paid DC. They said they had that episode with Superman and the and the thing, but there it is. You know what it is they want free labor. That's what it is.
Yep.
Like they feel that you're a little guy and you're gonna stay a little guy. So.
How did they find you? Right, it was at a show. They saw your booth at a show or something. How did they HBO find you?
It happened at the last New York Comic Con that I did.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And that turned into 3 things. Before The Watchmen was Ted 2, the movie, where they actually filmed in Comic Con, but that year I didn't get a table. And then they filmed the preliminary stuff outside, and then they recreated Comic-Con in California, and I could have been in the movie, but I was such a schmuck. I was just like, oh, I don't want to take off any days from work. I was like a schmuck. I was just like, I should have just, I was like worried about getting paid from work and taking off time than being in a movie.
Let me ask you, just because, have you been doing remote learning?
Yeah, I have been. Yeah.
How's it gone?
Years. Pretty good.
Interesting.
It's an adjustment, but I started doing it in the prison last year, and then it was easier doing it in the prison. And the high school is a little bit more challenging because kids don't want to have their camera on. They don't want to respond to you. It's a tough crowd. Trust me. It's like being a comedian on stage and no one's really laughing, but you can't hear it because they're on mute. It's like, it's a tough crowd. Like you really have to be confident to say like, okay, they're getting it. And if they're not getting it, you'll see it in their work. See,
Ray and I met at Information Technology High School. We were both teachers there.
Which is the shirt he's wearing, which is awesome. I was like,
I'm going to cut out. I've got a couple of things to do.
No problem. Thanks for joining us, Gary.
This was fun. Good.
Yeah.
Invite me again.
Yes, I will.
Thank you, Gary.
That was very impromptu of you joining us. I appreciate that.
Oh, I sent you by email those images of Loki.
Oh, okay, great. I'll take a look at those.
Let me know what you think of them.
Fantastic.
Gentlemen, it's nice meeting you.
Yes,
Gary, you too. Thank you.
See you another time.
Take care. We'll have a few more laughs next time I see you.
Okay.
So guys, that was fun. So the second one was the Netflix show, which was called what was it? Best Worst Summer Ever. Now, what's interesting is that the person that recruited me, I never met. That's interesting. They came to the table, they bought books, and then I got a phone call, and I thought it was a joke. I thought it was a prank. So the first one was Ted 2, and that actually worked out well. So the books were in Ted 2, the movie. If you see it, they actually recreated my booth in LA in a fake Comic-Con, and they actually have all the books. They have people at the table. There are people wearing the shirts. They even shot scenes outside of New York Comic-Con. The whole crew, when they were filming in New York Comic-Con, they were wearing all my Bronx Heroes shirts. Wow. So the entire crew was wearing Bronx Heroes as they were filming Ted 2, which was kind of neat, and I didn't have a table that year, so I'm kind of like walking around watching them shoot and stuff, and I was like, they're all wearing my shirts. That's crazy.
You couldn't get a cameo in? You couldn't get in there with a T-shirt and just walk around a little bit?
Yeah, you know what it was? I didn't even bother. Honestly, I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm a little shy. I'm not a shy person, but I'm like,
that's the root issue. He's like, oh,
but exactly. I'm like the notorious, literally. But the second gig I was in, it was a Netflix show, and I was in there for like 3 seconds. Don't blink. It's like and that was also another San Diego Comic-Con scene, but it wasn't in San Diego. It was in another part of Cal. It was one of those kid dog movies about these kids trying to get into Comic-Con at some hotel. So they recreated a mini Comic-Con at some hotel, and that was actually kind of cool because it was like being at a comic convention, but it was fake. with real vendors. Like you had real vendors there, but it was all fake. And it was like really crazy. Nice. And then the Watchmen came out of that. And there's also, but Watchmen didn't shoot any of they shot it, but they didn't use any of the footage for the comic book. There was a comic book scene, a comic book store. It was supposed to be a little kid reading a comic book, and then he goes into the story of the comic book. But what it was replaced by was a little kid watching a black and white movie of a black cowboy, Brother Lone Star. But it's like, my Brother Lone Star. But the black cowboy in the movie ended up being the real Lone Ranger. I forget his name because this is my second beer. But so the kid was supposed to be really like reading this, like Brother Lone Star. And then, but instead they switched it to a kid watching a movie, and then they did the Tulsa riots and the fire and all that stuff.
Right.
But they totally went a different direction. And I think that's because he had other writers put into the story. Like, there was like 12 writers and stuff. So, but it was still fun being a part of it, Yeah. I was actually invited to go to Georgia, but I would have to fly on my own dime. And again, I'm a working stiff like all of us are. So I was like, can I really afford to hang out on a set for a week and lose money? You know, because I got bills to pay. So
yeah.
So it's kind of like, and I met the lady. I finally met the lady who was at the table, but I didn't remember her. But she was really nice, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, there's another one called Mars of Easttown, which is coming out on HBO. It hasn't been released yet. That was another one where they used the books.
Really? Damn. So they use all your books.
But yeah, they use. But I don't know. I don't know whether it's going to be cutting room floor or because of COVID and stuff like that. I don't know if they're going to use it or what. But even if it doesn't make it, it's okay. You know, I kind of wish I got like a credit to it, but
sure,
then I could be on like IMDb and like update my stuff. But it is what it is. You know, I'm just glad to have the opportunities, but I'm looking for some of this. You know, it's like, well, and that one though, Mars of Easttown, they actually bought the books from the website.
Oh, they did.
So usually it was like me mailing the inventory. They paid me for shipping out the inventory, and then returning it. You know, now I don't have to worry about getting books beat up or messed up or T-shirts that are used or whatever. So they just bought everything that they needed, and I was like, they're fine. And then I mailed them banners or whatever, whatever they need.
So, that's cool though.
But it was just a fluke. Honestly, it was just dumb luck.
Wow. Cool stuff, bro.
But I feel like we're like brothers in arms because we've been through the rat race. We've been through it. We're still here. Yeah. As we rise, the pitchforks are coming out. People who get angry that you're a little bit smarter, a little bit more savvy, that you figured out the secret, that they start coming for you, like I'm not going to mention it, but it's happening to me right now. It's like,
oh, no.
So I mean, it's lonely at the top. That's what they say, right? But you guys are still cool together, and that's great. I mean,
yeah, man. Yeah. Well, are you doing an actual con?
I'm planning to.
Yeah.
I'm actually planning to do 2 shows for 2021, but it really comes down to COVID. Like, is this look at the spring break, what's happening now? I mean, are we gonna have another outbreak, or the vaccine thing, and then as we get older, we lose energy. Like, I'm working my ass off. I feel like I'm working harder than I've ever worked harder in my life, like my day job, as an educator. I think it gets harder, it's like I don't have the same energy that I did when I was younger, so
sure.
I have the same motivation, but I just don't have the same priorities, because your kids get old, shit changes. So
I hear that. Yeah, no, I think Sam's going to be at the PowCon at the end of May.
I saw that. Yeah. And I actually applied, but Jersey has the highest COVID rates. Remember that.
Nah, see, for me, the PowCon, the it's affordable, but I've been cooped up since December 5th, and I need to get out. And I practice. They're practicing social distancing. They're going to have temperature checks, and they're going to have all of the protective measures. Mm-hmm. And even though the tables are 6 feet long, the next table is 6 feet apart. So, right. Everyone's required to wear masks. I'll have my mask on, and I'm going to do my thing and connect and try to connect with the audience and promote Catch the Crazies and Forbidden.
Mm-hmm. Don't forget to wear your body condom, like that.
Right. It's I'm excited to be at PowCon. It's May 29th and 30th at 1 Wayne something.
One Wayne Plaza or something like that.
Yeah. And so it's a large. He's going to be able to get up. I think capacity is like 3,000 or whatever. Mm-hmm. He's got some great stuff happening. Tickets are selling through the roof. We had him on our show. He's going to be. We're going to air that on the 11th.
Is that who you had on today?
No, we had him on yesterday. Today we had 2 other Kickstarter campaigns.
You guys are machines. I swear to God.
I'm telling you, man. Ever since the pandemic, we've just been recording shows. So it's been good.
Yeah, we're booked through June.
June.
Really? Wow. Great.
Yeah, we have an actress that is coming up soon. We have publishers. We have a lot of promoters. So So we're excited about that. But again, if you're watching this on whatever network you're watching it, whether it's Twitch or YouTube or Facebook, I'm not sure. You're on YouTube?
Oh yeah, I'm YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook right now.
Yeah. So basically,
Nice.
right now, we're in the last 3 days. The campaign for Forbidden ends Saturday afternoon, and we are like $112 away from that stretch goal.
Very cool.
And so, as an incentive to meet that stretch goal, I'm throwing in this additional bonus for a minimum. And normally, you have to pledge at a higher level to get a commission sketch card from me. But if you pledge $15 or more between today and Saturday, and we hit that $1,000 mark, every single person who pledged that $15 will get a commission sketch card by me. And what's even better, you pick a character.
A forbidden character or an alien in my toilet character.
It doesn't matter what. It doesn't even have to be my characters. It could be a favorite character of your own that you want me to do. You pick the character. I will do it for you. And that's an incentive, is an added bonus for Forbidden currently on Indiegogo. It's the last 3 days. So I would love your support if you're watching this out there today.
You got a thumbs up from Darius Crosby. That's cool.
Thank you, Darius.
Thanks, Darius. Yeah, my brother. But yeah, dude, it's been a whirlwind with all the projects that we have coming out right now. Forbidden is doing its thing, and then on the 29th of April we have issue 3 of the Catch the Crazies that are coming out, so that'll be cool.
Yeah. You guys got a bunch of episodes now, right? You guys celebrated like a 200th episode a few months ago.
Yeah, I think we recorded 257. So
you're at 257 now. Wow.
Yeah.
You guys are beast.
Machines.
It's funny. Yeah, you guys are like, what was Glenn Gary again or Glenn Ross?
Keep closing. Keep closing.
Keep closing. I had started this show with 2 fellas. One guy that I was working with before, but the incentive for the other guy to be in there, who I didn't know, was that he was going to bring some talent to the show. And then 16 episodes in, they were like, well, we want to do this. We want to do something else. We want to monetize. I was like, that's fine. Whatever you guys want to do, I'm open to. But then 2021 came around. We didn't do much more episodes. We were doing like weekly for a while. And then they wanted to go a different direction. They got bored. They're not comic book people. And I was like, well, this is what I'm doing. It's called Bronze Heroes. You guys can do whatever you want. It's fine. I said, but your partner that you brought in, he didn't bring anybody. Out of the 16 guests that we had, those are all people that I knew. And Sam was one of our guests too.
Yeah, I remember that.
And, and we were like getting bigger and better. They're like, oh, can we do like movie people? I was like, sure. So I brought in like some movie people. I say, oh, can we do actors? Yeah, I brought in some actors. Oh, can you do cosplayers? I brought in a cosplayer. I mean, so I was like, well, what are you doing? So they really wanted me to write their lines and shit too. I was like, oh, I think I'm done. I can't do this. I'm not writing anybody's lines. I'm not doing it, so it's at my discretion now. I mean, I need to get more disciplined. Yeah. And you guys have a system. Like, the only thing I miss about going to work every morning is listening to your podcast. I swear to God.
Oh man, appreciate that.
I would listen to that shit. You guys have me laughing. You guys do your rap. You guys got your little rap going on.
Sam's a rapper, man. Sam's a hip hop lady.
Singing Candy Girl. It's like
at the end.
He's got me going back. I'm like, wow, these guys are great, man. And you guys are really awesome. You guys are awesome.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
And
appreciate you, man.
Anything
you should definitely keep it going. Right? You heard? You should definitely keep it going, brother. Try to get like a little schedule going for yourself, and then do, even if it's one show a week or something like that, or one show every 2 weeks, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I need to do that because I'm paying for the fucking service.
Nah, dude, and there's a lot of information that you have. I mean, you've put so many shows together. I'm sure there's a lot of people that want to hear about how to put a con together. What goes into it, the intricacies of all that stuff. So you have a lot of information, bro.
But people are trying to rewrite history and saying that had nothing to do with it. I just
You know how that goes, man. So, but you definitely have a lot of insight, dude. You should definitely,
Yeah,
keep this
definitely,
going for
man.
sure.
I don't know if you guys are on Twitter, but if you read my Twitter feeds, you'll crack up. It's like,
Really? No, I haven't seen.
that's where
I'll check that
I
out.
try to keep it off of Facebook, but all the drama's on Twitter.
Yeesh. Ray, Ray, you've got to battle with the big two. You always have something going on,
Oh my
dude.
god, man. I was like, can I catch a break?
Yo, seriously, bro. It's like, what the hell?
You know what it
Oh
is?
man.
I really hate you guys. You guys got a tight crew of guys, and I feel that people that I have attracted through the years, I take it from I'm going to get a little personal here, but I think that it comes from my goodwill, my personality, but it also comes from the reason why it keeps happening is because I grew up as an abused kid. Like I had like an abusive father and
Mm.
and a neglectful mom, and she's still neglectful. It's like it hasn't changed. But I mean, like, but I think that because I grew up that way, that I attracted people that say, "Hey, this guy is looking for attention." Like, and I do. I mean, I'm a comic book guy. I want people to look at me. I want people to look at my work. I want people to sell my books. But I think that some people recognize that and they capitalize on you, and then they try to take advantage of you, and they kind of like keep you on the hook, and they try to like, they have that abuser mentality, so they know how to manipulate you and how to keep you going. But now at age 48, I'm finally learning to identify it, see it ahead of time, and nip it in the bud. Because if I nipped it in the bud years ago,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. But it comes from our experiences, I mean, I went to school, you guys went to school, you guys grew up in Jersey. The Bronx was tough. I mean, I don't remember learning anything in school like my first 12 years. I remember just fighting, it's like after fourth grade was a fight, fifth grade fight, sixth grade fight. Junior high school was a battle royale for 3 years. And then
He said a battle royale.
and then you finally get into high school and you're like, oh, I could read a book and nobody's gonna fuck with me. It's like, because you earned your bones, and everyone knows this guy is. Don't mess with this guy. He'll take your eyes out and eat them.
Look at that corpse sitting in his room.
Look at that in his room right now.
But then and then after college, you kind of like you get your job, you get your family, and then you start coming back to normal. Yeah, you find to ground yourself, but then you become vulnerable because people see that you have a lot and they want a piece of what you got.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
So then it's back into junior high school again.
And it's hard. It's hard to sparse it apart and pick out the good stuff from the bad stuff because you don't even know the difference. Nah,
yeah, you can't tell the difference sometimes because people, it's a hustle, man. We're hustling and people are trying to hustle us at the same time, Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like it's like I don't know if you guys when you guys were younger, if you hung out. I used to travel a lot when I was younger on Greyhound buses, so I was always at the Port Authority. But it was like being at the Port Authority and some dude coming up to you and like, "Yo, man, you need a place to live." That's what the comic book industry is. People are like, "Yo, man, you got an idea? You want to share an idea? Show us what you got. Maybe we'll publish you. Maybe not." And then 9 times out of 10, they'll steal your shit.
Shit, that's crazy.
And that's, I mean, honestly. I can tell you right now, and I don't give a fuck who says what, but I created the Red Hulk. I had my roommate steal that from me back in 2000, whenever that was, 2005, 2004. Then it came out in 2008 or 9. Red Hulk was an idea that came off my drawing table. They changed it because they didn't have the story; they just had the art. But I had a roommate that worked for Marvel, and then we made up. Then he moved back in here where I'm living now for like 4 years. And then like now I see shit getting stolen again, all over again. It's like after he moved out. So it's like, you know what I mean? It's like you kind of set yourself up. You're a good-natured person. You're like, I'm going to take this guy and he's going through a rough time. The past was the past. We're boys, whatever. You take him in for 4 years. Everything's kumbaya. The guy moves on. Thank you, And then it's back to seeing your shit in print, Back at fucking Marvel and DC, seeing your stuff getting stolen, So I mean,
crazy.
You know what I mean? Yeah, that's the great. that's the game, right? You got to kind of just navigate through all that stuff. So
yeah,
Tough. So I mean,
brother.
you guys have a tight crew. You guys have a true crew. You know, you guys are like blood in, blood out. You know,
Locals forever.
Los locos, Holmes.
yeah. I mean,
Nah.
you guys, I see it. I mean, I honestly see it. Like the way you guys were back in the day, like in 2008 when you guys were at Comic-Con, and even before that, like at the Kids Comic-Con where I met Sam and stuff. And I see you guys today, and you still have that good-natured rapport. You know, you guys fell in with the right crowd. You know, I always fall in with these shysters. You know, I'm not going to say everything that's on camera, but you know, it's like, but shysters, even people in the professional world that are shysters, you know, you know, you just got to navigate and like deal with them. You know, you just got to like kind of like try to survive it. You know, it's like Knives Out and shit. So
Yeah, man.
so I kind of feel like Phil Eisner, like you just got to do it yourself. You know,
you just gotta keep doing what you're doing, right? Keep doing that Bronx Heroes, man. That's some positivity stuff right there, brother.
yeah, exactly.
For sure. I'm gonna head out, fellas. But listen,
let's wrap this
Ray,
up. Thank you guys for coming. We've been talking for 2 hours, right? And we had 4 people still watching. Thank you for watching, guys. I was waiting for them to post comments, but nobody posted anything. So,
yes, thank you for watching. And please, if you haven't, check out Forbidden on Indiegogo. The link is right there. Again, and great incentive to get some free commission art. So, thank you, Ray, for having us. And we'll be back tomorrow.
Thank
you guys will be back tomorrow with Jonathan, right?
Part 2 with Jonathan and Anibal. I think Anibal. I'm
I
not
think
sure.
Anibal, right? Or is he April 1st? Was he pulling my leg with that or what?
I don't know.
No. We're back. Well, I'm back April 1st. I won't be on tomorrow, but you guys rock on tomorrow, man, for sure. I'll be watching.
All right.
Peace. Thank you, brother.
Take care, man.
Peace out.
Later, homie.
Later. And that's it. That's our show, guys. Thanks for tuning in. You heard all the craziness from Catch the Craze and all the craziness from yours truly and the great words of Gary Cohn, which was kind of impromptu. Gary was just texting me on the side and I just said, hey, come on in. Let's chit chat. Sometimes it's like that. You know, that's the life, you know. And thanks for everybody tuning in, for showing your support, and good night and God bless. Take care. This is Bronx Heroes.